Welcome to Skin and Soul. I'm Gwenm, a transformational body, sex, and soul coach, and I'm inviting you on a bold, unfiltered journey into the heart of our humanity through the lens of Eros. This is where we strip away the shame, dive into the unspoken, and embrace the wild, raw truth of our desires. Together, we'll crack open the taboo, uncover our deepest intimacies, and awaken the pulse of our sexual essence. Because real transformation, it's messy, it's thrilling, and it's oh so delicious. Buckle up, loves. Skin and Soul Beyond the Pale starts in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Hello and welcome back. I'm Gwenm. I'm your host of Skin and Soul Beyond the Pale, where we get to talk about what it means to be profoundly human through the lens of Eros. And today we get to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is masculinity and what makes a man trustworthy, not just in his words, but in how he leads and how he loves and how he takes responsibility for impact. And joining me in this conversation, welcome, I've got Reuben Butterfield, who is the founder of Round 3. He's a strategist, he's a coach, and has spent more than 20 years working with people and organizations to help them discover who they are, what they stand for, and how to build something that matters. So welcome, Reuben.
Thanks so much, Gwenm. Thanks for having me on today. I'm excited.
Yeah.
And, it's morning where I am still, so I'll say good morning.
Good morning, good evening. I'm in Portugal. We're ending our day. So I wanted to start with just Round 3 really caught my curiosity. I love that that's the name of your company, but I think it means something deeper. So if you can just explain to us a little bit around what Round 3 is.
Yeah, thank you. So it's got a number of different connections to things that are meaningful and matter. For me personally, it is kind of my third round, my third chapter in kind of life, more macro look at it, and so I think it's got some deep significance there for me. Also, we are a team of three. We've been a team of three for the better part of 14, 15 years now. And I really wanted something to recognize that and the trio of us. So when we went through a little rebrand, we were called M Brand for a number of years, about 10 years. And then late 2025, we wanted to launch some new offerings. And that became a totally new chapter. So it was about let's just go for it. Let's reinvent, let's renew, let's hold on to what is worth holding on to and inject some new energy into the mix. And Round 3 emerged from that. So yeah,
And
it's got
everything
some
good happens in threes, I think. That's what I've always
exactly. Yeah.
everything great happens in threes. And so
Yeah. Exactly.
looking at you through a personal lens, because I went onto your Facebook post kind of hunting and looking, and I
Yeah.
was really amazed by your I'm going to call it the rant. It wasn't the rant. It was very articulate in stepping up and what it means to be a man and having impact and so on. And so just moving there, looking at your Round 3 of where you are in life now,
Yeah.
and looking back what your rounds 1 and 2 were like to bring you to Round 3.
Yeah. You want to dig into those rounds?
I
Round
want to
one,
dig
two?
into those. Yeah, tell me a little bit around some of the the parts that make you grow and that really steered
Sure.
you in the direction of stepping into the man that you've become and are proud to show up with today.
Yeah. Well, and that in and of itself is an ongoing dance and struggle sometimes when I encounter challenge. So you mentioned proud to show up. That's an inner struggle sometimes still. Uh, and but if I look at those chapters 1 and 2 or rounds 1 and 2 there, round 1 I would say is everything kind of before kids. So it was, up until I think I had my first when I was 27, 26. So kind of everything up to that point was round 1. And it's interesting stuff when I look back, and I have been thinking back on it a little bit lately. I started my first business when I was about 19. It was in the landscaping industry, was able to kind of grow that somewhat, successfully for what I was able to do and thought of at the time. And I was a bit of a firecracker. there was some, like I would just oftentimes I kind of look back on it now and I'm like, almost kind of walked around like throwing matches over my shoulder, burning bridges sometimes, and no real appreciation for relationship in any sense of it. I was kind of building community, but the nuance of it, and I guess totally appropriate for a young man running a business in his early 20s. Um, and there was a fire there that I kind of I look back on now and I'm like, oh, if I could just have parts of that back, with what I know now, there'd be some beauty and some real power in that. Round two is everything that came after that, the birth of our first child, and it's everything up until about a year ago. So it was a full journey in there. Obviously, having kids. So I've got two kids, and that in itself was a massive change and journey, and kind of uncovering new depths and all kinds of amazing, beautiful things, struggles, challenges, all of it. Uh, the kind of the Cole's Notes version of that. We had kids. I was super checked out. I was overwhelmed, unequipped, didn't know how to show up as a dad, a husband, a man, trying to run a business, trying to navigate two young kids at home. We then had some pretty big disruption in our marriage, and we kind of navigated that for a year or so, and then at the time, my wife, she got diagnosed with breast cancer, quite an aggressive form of breast cancer and fairly advanced at the time, and so it kind of tossed us into another year of triage. So we were in this kind of space of triage for a couple of years, and and then we kind of emerged from that, realized that the marriage itself was kind of time to say goodbye to that version of what was happening, and which was in large part led by her, and then we entered into this beautiful journey of co-parenting. So we co-parented. She navigated life with cancer for 9 years or so, and it just became life. So we were co-parenting. She was, after about a year or so, she reconnected with a previous partner, and was able to have a great relationship there. I was navigating dating and short to medium term relationships for chunks of that time, and it just became this life, where that's what was going on. We were uh, such amazing co-parents, and it was just such a beautiful journey to be on with her. And that journey kind of ended about a year ago, when she passed away from cancer. So she passed away at the end of April last year, and yeah, so it's then that kind of led into the third round, which is now.
Which is now. Okay.
Yeah.
I would say, do you think that being faced with chronic illness and death changes and shifted you into, whether that's an awakening or whether just realizing that things have to change and what those things for you were in priority?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it did over time for sure. So working with chronic illness and being faced with that, obviously gave me a huge appreciation for how I show up as a co-parent and as a partner in that journey. Um, and certainly over the years, shifted a lot, and the priorities changed a lot from, yeah, depending on where she was at in the journey. Um, it really shifted my appreciation for what it means to show up for someone else, both through learning how to do that, and also seeing very clearly where I wasn't. So the lens of like shoulda, woulda, coulda stuff came up a lot over the years, and looking at where a lot of the missed opportunity was, the things that I wish that I had known or understood or had more sensitivity to. Um, and ultimately that I wish that I had been modeled much earlier in life, so I had some sort of frame of reference for how to show up in these moments, how to show up with love and care and empathy, um, and all of that was stuff I had to kind of learn, and I think
I
a
was gonna
lot of
say,
the way.
did you go looking for it? Because I think, anybody listening is like, what does that mean to show up? Showing up is a term that's really being used a lot these
Yeah,
days. And it's like, what does it mean to show up? What does it mean to show up in as a man? I don't even want to say in the masculine, but as a man nowadays, when I think like there's so many men that are confused as to
yeah,
whether it's through the feminist movement or Me Too movement. There's one movement after another, and yet, I mean, I know that there's like really great men out there that are floundering, which I also think is, as women and humanity, we're responsible for this as well, that we're not showing it's everyone, right, and how we're treating each other. So
yeah.
for you, what do you think, moving into being that man, like what, because there's a lot of people that'll go, I don't know, what does that mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I, I think it really, I know for me anyway, and I would definitely assert that this is the collective as well. I think it's about presence, like actually checking in, and um, sometimes I think it feels too simple. It feels like we need to do more because we're programmed, right? We should have the fancy car and the all the cash and the bling and the whatever, the all the stuff that doesn't matter. And yet we're so, I think as men, a lot of us tend to be really confused about that, right? And I think it really comes down to like, no, what actually matters is like fully checking in,
Mhm.
being able to actually sit with someone in a moment and have full eye contact and full presence and the
Say,
fullness of ourselves. And for me, that's oftentimes what I'm referring to when I say showing up. Um, Not trying to fix things, not trying to avoid or run away, simply just being being in space with someone, being in a moment with someone, whether that's kids, partner, business, whatever the thing is. Uh, I find it for me that's the constant pull. I need to come back to that place of presence, and if I do that, if I can slow the brain down, the mind down just enough to actually like really kind of exhale, check in, be intentional with what I'm up to, um, everything gets a lot simpler. And and yeah, sometimes it feels like, well, it can't be that easy. It is, and it's not easy, rather, or it can't be that simple. And it is that simple. It's not always easy, I guess, is maybe the distinction there.
mhm.
It's a, like I think that's what the world needs from men in general, and I think that's where our work is bringing presence, um, which
And what
creates
you
all
say, and I
kinds
think
of
you
stuff.
say like, I wish that we were teaching our 12-year-old boys how to show up. I'm looking at your article where you just
Yeah,
basically say, these blinds show up in my automatic cycles. So I need to break the bullshit, the generational cycles, the familial ones,
yeah,
the cultural ones that tell me things are okay when they are absolutely not, and
yeah.
the patterns around entitlement that were never acceptable. So you are really standing in it and standing up for yourself. So what do you think? I mean, what do you tell your boys now?
Yeah, so I've got one. He's 13, and uh, it's an ongoing dance there. And really it comes down to that presence piece, right? Because there's devices, I think are the biggest challenge there. And it's amazing how much of it he's already got and he's exhibiting. And like there's pieces of him that I look at and I'm like, whoa, that's, if I wish I had had some of that in me. And like altruism about fair treatment of people and standing up for others. It's coming from within for him, and it's really beautiful. Um, yeah, there's this presence piece that I still am really struggling with, about just bringing it back.
Presence is hard. It's not, I mean,
So
it's something
hard.
that is cultivated.
Yeah,
I think it makes everybody come out, when I think about just being with somebody,
yeah,
it's exposing,
yeah,
sit there and eye gaze with somebody for 2 minutes,
yeah,
and it feels like, oh my God, my whole, that window into my soul and all of my
yeah,
transgressions and everything about me that I don't want you to see
yeah,
seems to show up, whether it's true or not. But we feel that when we're fully present, that everything and anything is possible.
yeah.
So where do you cultivate, and how have you cultivated that presence?
For me, I mean, it comes down to mindfulness, I think, and it I would say is probably, yeah, my biggest challenge, and just really bringing it back to that place of like, putting the phone away, putting the device away for a bit, and breath. Probably, like ultimately, right? It's, we can't be present if we're not breathing, if we're not exhaling. So for me, that's a big part of it. Bringing it back to breath and and allowing the discomfort. And I think you're right. It is absolutely cultivated, and it's something that I continue to cultivate day in, day out. Um, and I've, even found like this last week, I've been kind of particularly overwhelmed. It's been the last few days of school for my kids. Um, and and I want to be anywhere but where I am, in a moment. And it's really been fascinating seeing how that's impacted my partner, how it impacts my own sense of stability, safety, and bringing myself back into that place of like, sit in the discomfort. This is uncomfortable. It is okay. Uh, I am safe, like telling myself these things, to come back into that moment and back into my body, because it's amazing how quickly I just wanted to part, from that, and just like numb, do anything, find reasons to do something else. And it's wild. So just coming back to it. And again, it's like this really simple piece, but it's so hard, or I find it so hard.
It
Hold on.
is. Well, and we all have our go-tos, and for some
Yeah,
people that's alcohol, or like you said, there's scrolling. I think scrolling has
yeah,
become the new. It's so easy to pick up the phone.
totally.
Um, I love that scene in Hook, right? The wife takes this, I don't know if you've seen it, child's movie, right? She just takes the phone out of his hand, throws it out the window, and it's so tempting sometimes.
Yeah,
And you also bring up porn and
yeah.
how it can really consume, and that you put that away. And one of my curious questions for you is, what do you think that porn offers men? Like, what is the fantasy that it's offering men? That promise
Yeah.
that keeps them going back.
Well, I think it's there. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff there, like around the soothing piece and so on. I think ultimately though, it just provides the escape, right? It's a moment to escape into fantasy. It's the moment to escape into, anything but where we're at, anything but that discomfort. And for me, I've seen how damaging it can be. It creates all these messed up narratives, around what intimacy looks like, what role men have and what role women have, or the masculine, feminine, however we want to frame that. And it's I've found it to be in my life just absolutely damaging, and so harmful. And not so much recently, but in my life, there's been times where that's been the go-to in a big way. And it's from that place of just numbing, right? I don't want to deal with this, and this other thing is so much easier. It's accessible anytime, anywhere, high definition, limitless, genres, categories, whatever the flavor of the moment is, it's
Yeah.
there, it's accessible, it's free. It's so rich and it's so easy to grab that, right? Rather than navigating discomfort, realness with people, um, challenging moments with partners, humanity, the humanness of people, real
I always
people.
say like sex and intimacy is
Yeah.
messy, right? It involves like, basically hiccuping, sneezing, farting, crying, snot
Yeah.
drilling. It's, so many times it's like so messy, and we don't talk about
Yeah.
the mess of just being real with someone, that it's not perfect. And so
Yeah.
when you look at like the man that you were, compared to where you are today, what do you think that your definition of a man was at the time?
Well, I mean, my definition probably would have been provider in some way. But I don't know if I even had a definition, to be honest. I mean, I think and yeah, it's actually, this is the first time I've kind of thought this through maybe in a while. Um, I don't think I had a definition, right? So it was, if anything, if there is no definition, then anything will do, kind of thing, right? So it was this like aimless wandering. And um, I guess I had a definition of what it wasn't. So I had a father who was, my parents separated when I was about 5 or 6, and he was marginally involved. Um, Not a great role model when he was around, and so I had some pretty clear definitions of what it wasn't to be a man, um, but nothing for what it was. So I didn't know. So for me, the bar was, well, if I'm not, completely physically abusing people, then I'm probably doing okay. That's a pretty low bar. Uh, and so certainly in hindsight, um, yeah, there was no definition. Yeah,
Yeah, so that's a really hard way to move into partnership, raising kids,
fully.
uh, which is a really steep learning curve. And as always, that I think it tears apart every preconceived notion of what
Yeah,
society says this partnership is supposed to look like. I mean, now
yeah,
we've got a lot more information coming out, but we've had these roles and these and almost these caricatures of what a marriage or a partnership, right? Whether whatever that looks like, man,
yeah.
woman, two men, two, but there's always
Yes.
this idea of it's two-dimensional as opposed to the humans walking in. So when you look at yourself today, who do you think is emerging?
So I like that you've put the ing on the end there, emerging, because I would say it's very much in process, and hopefully, probably always will be. Um, who's emerging now is someone who tends, so understands the value of that presence and who tends to what matters in life, and who matters in life. So the people closest to me. So tending to those relationships and those people and those hearts, um, in the ways that are needed, in any given moment on any given day, and then tending to the things that matter, the business, the dream, the stability, the roof, the foundation, the whatever it is, whatever chapter it is that I'm in, tending to those pieces. So someone who's got a much more clearly defined definition of what that is to show up and be a man, and then doing it day in, day out. Uh,
You're
and
looking at yourself in your mirror very honestly today. What
yeah.
do you think is your weak spot?
Hmm. I think anger still comes up for me. So it gets expressed through I would say kind of through that pulling away from presence. So I get stuck in my head in anger. Really, the only person I get angry at or that I express it to is myself, so that my head can get to be a very hard place. And that I would say is the weak spot right now. So allowing that anger to kind of spiral or ramp up, create this negative spiral of talk in my head, that of course then pulls me out of presence with the people who are closest
Mm.
to me, uh, and then immediately undermines how I want to be, right? So if I want to show up with that full grounded presence, and then anger or maybe grief as well, but certainly anger comes up and kind of immediately pulls me into my own head and then out of presence with people. Uh, that's the weakest area, I think, which is a bunch of areas maybe, but it's the weakest
That's
cycle.
okay. And I, again, anger is one of those things that we're taught to not,
Hmm.
shouldn't feel anger. Like that anger is the no emotion, which
Yeah,
is, not true. And so
yeah,
I think going into the head or wanting to leave or just being self-bashing
yeah,
and yeah.
yeah,
Instead of dealing
yeah,
with the anger. To me, anger is like one of the greatest tellers of something's off, right? Something
totally.
something doesn't feel good.
Yeah. 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 And it wants to move, right? Like the thing with anger is that
Yeah.
it's energy. I mean, all of it is energy that wants to move. And certainly with anger, right? Like there's a palpable, like this has got to move. And so I find that yeah, on the moments where I can listen to that quickly early on and then go do something physical, it shortens that cycle quite a bit. And reminding myself of that in the moment, being present enough with myself to know that and come back to that and be like, okay, I am feeling anger. It's in my body as heat, or I'm feeling tense or whatever the thing is, and then allowing that space to be like, no, what I need is to go move.
Because I
Um,
don't think we don't allow, particularly men. I think there's a huge fear, especially if you come back from a background of somebody who is
yeah,
abusive.
yeah,
There's huge fear around having just those sensation rise up, and we don't
absolutely.
allow for men to show up in a healthy anger because
Yeah,
it's scary if it's not channeled
yeah,
right in the way. And so I think it gets ignored a lot. And so again, looking at, how we raise boys into men, how we raise even and raising up men today, how men can express themselves um, in a way that feels good and safe and allow that primal to come out because it
exactly.
needs to, right? And it's
Yeah,
just in a much more channeled way.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, and I think you're right. Like we are, I think as men, a lot of us are very afraid of our own anger, right? Like it can be so uncomfortable because yeah, we're scared. We're scared of what we might do to others, to ourselves, to walls, whatever the thing might be. And yeah, it can be a really scary thing. So then we shrink it, right? We shrink it, we deny it, we hide it, we avoid it, we stuff it down, whatever the thing might be for a particular person. Um, and yeah, it's really not healthy. And I think we're seeing a lot of that now collectively out there, right? We're seeing so much repressed anger happening because of that discomfort, right? Well, we don't know, like okay, we know what we're not able to do, but what are we able to do? How do we move it? And so I see people who are really committed to jujitsu, let's say, and that seems to be a big thing for a lot of men.
Yeah.
I haven't tried it yet myself. I want to. Um, and I think that's like letting those pieces out, those primal pieces out, on a day-to-day basis or a few times a week, whatever the thing might be, um, really seems to help. Right. So for me, it's the gym. A lot of people, it's the gym, I think. Mountain biking with my son, wrestling. We sometimes wrestle. We have like these, informal wrestle matches at night, and it just gives that place to like let some of it let some of that energy move in a way that is real. I need to move physically and like, yeah, feel it. Yeah.
You got to feel it. So what do you think the consequences looking around for yourself, and also just looking, I guess on a more general scale of not um what happens when that anger isn't released, or just when emotions get suppressed, and like
Mm.
what's your personal experience around it?
My personal experience is, it will find a way to move regardless, and it will end up being in some way that is unhealthy. So it might be um, lashing out or acting out. It might be through the unhealthy behaviors, some of which are damaging to others and some of which aren't, or just damaging to self. Um, but it will find a way to come out. And I think then we're seeing it. And I would suggest that keyboard warriors on the internet, like finding ways to let it out that are not constructive or productive necessarily, through to very damaging behaviors, right? Harming other people physically, mentally, sexually, whatever the thing is, the serial dating, then, like everything. I'd look at all of these things and just be like, oh, it's coming from this place of anger. Like
And
it's,
even in relationship, right? In your closest relationships, forget just even around abuse, just look at
yeah,
disconnection, right?
totally.
I can't deal with it. So I'm just gonna, like, as you said, walk
No.
out the door, leave, avoid.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with this, instead of
Yeah.
being able to stay
Yeah.
in it, or just saying, I'm going to take 10 minutes, walk it off, come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
wouldn't it be
to stay in
beautiful if we were
connection.
all able to do that? To to do that, like,
Treatment.
hey,
Yeah.
I need a few minutes for me. This is
Mhm.
important. I'm going to come back to this, and I need to walk away just for a few moments, and I'll be right back. Right? What a beautiful thing. I think there's a real pattern with a lot of men, and I've done this a lot myself, and it can be an easy go-to just be like, I can't deal with this. I have to go. And there's another piece to that, which is, and I'm coming back,
And I'm
right?
coming back. Yeah, I'll be back. Because
Yeah,
there's that I'm leaving, which I
yeah,
think, for anyone who's had abandonment issues or just not
exactly.
understanding, right? That's where the dance happens of
Yeah,
that
totally.
person's not coming
Yeah,
back. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So I
exactly.
know when we were chatting, you were saying that now is, you found somebody in your life who's really changed the game
Yeah.
intimately, personally, and you said like you've never had this experience before. So I just wanted you to share a little bit around like what is this experience that you're having, and what do you think? Yeah, I'll start there.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, yeah, she is absolutely amazing. And the absolute love and protection and caregiving that I feel, and I just feel so incredibly grounded in how I want to show up. Of course, doing that is always a dance. Um, but just the absolute desire, like there's I think one of the big things that I personally have really kind of journeyed with in my life is noise, just this constant chatter of noise in my head of competing priorities and where I should be putting my time, and it comes from years of being stretched for time and commitments and maybe a touch of neurodivergence or something where I'm just like, I want to do it all. And I want to say yes to everything, and you can't. We can try, and then it creates a lot of noise. And my experience in this particular container, in this particular relationship, has been just the absolute disappearance of most of that noise. Um, and I think it's probably in large part due to this particular woman and the dynamic between us, the chemistry, all of it, and maybe also a part of my life, my round three, where I'm all of a sudden I'm just like grounded in this, and this is where I want to be. This is where I want to invest my energy, my heart. I feel like I know how to. I feel like I can. Um, all of which has just contributed to lowering this noise, which then creates this beautiful self-fueling cycle that I've been noticing where it just makes me want to show up more and more fully. And there's a complete absence of anxiety most of the time. I'm not fretting in my head about abandonment pieces or am I doing this right? Those things still come up. They feel a little different, which has been really cool. And just feeling the absence of noise a good chunk of the time has been so incredible and so fulfilling and just what a beautiful, yeah, beautiful piece.
Do you
So
think that do you think that your growth and awareness attracted her, or how
yes,
right, so like I was gonna say the raising of, and then okay,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I think so. I do think that's the way that stuff works, right? Like I think we work on ourselves and we shift into some new way of being, and that's how we attract something, right? Something, someone. Um, yeah, so I think that if I hadn't been on this journey, that if things hadn't unfolded the way they had over the last few years, that yeah, I would not be in this container with her. Yeah.
Beautiful. So for now, where do you, so I asked you where you're emerging, but
Yeah.
where would you like to go next in raising that quotient even higher? And I'll bring it even more specific in
Sure.
relationship and your intimacy, because you went from one marriage that wasn't
Yeah.
great, and then I mean and navigated it really well with co-parenting, so really good for
Yeah.
you. I think that's a really difficult thing to do, and we had that in common where my wife had cancer, and so
Yeah.
and I did not navigate it well at all. um and so being able to step in and go from there. I don't know, I had a question in there somewhere.
Yeah, I'm a little fuzzy on what it was.
Oh
Um,
yeah, just so being in relationship now
yeah.
from that, through that lens, where do you see yourself going in that relationship?
Yeah. So, I mean, kind of removing the the pieces of what life itself might look like and going more sort of ontologically there, of how we're being. Um, I think it comes back to presence, and I feel like this whole thing is just going to be one kind of loop of presence, presence, presence. And if that was a takeaway for someone from this, that's probably a pretty great outcome. Um, I want to deepen into that. So I'd love to be able to shorten my cycles of the overwhelm, the fuck it moment, the kind of spiral, the then bring myself back, um, and I'd love to shorten
Tell us what that cycle, because I that's interesting.
that. Yeah,
How does the cycle go for you? The all I heard was something and fuck it cycle, and that,
yeah.
so what does the cycle look like for you?
It changes around a little bit. Generally, though, it'll feel like overwhelm. So I have so much on the go. So it's overwhelm, it's noise. Then there's this really kind of negative self-talk piece of I can't, I'm not enough. I'm not doing it right. Then there's this moment of fuck it. And the fuck it has gotten smaller over the years. It used to be where the numbing out would occur, right? So the fuck it, and then it's the go to alcohol, go to porn, go to unhealthy behaviors, whatever they might be. Food is another one for me personally, and I think for a lot. Uh, and so there would be that fuck it moment, and then we get to focus on that piece, right? We're like, oh, I did that thing that I now feel terrible about. So now I get to focus there, and it distracts from whatever the overwhelm was in the first place. And then it kind of just continues to spiral there for me, particularly when it comes to food. I think it tends to kind of just get stuck in this little loop of like, feel terrible, numb out, overeat, feel terrible, numb.
Yeah.
overeat. And it can tend to be a cycle that's really hard to break. So for me in relationship, and I think as a man in general, but certainly in relationship, I'd love to be able to shorten that cycle. And I say shorten it because I don't think it's going to go away completely. I don't think that's realistic to expect
I
of
don't think it's
myself.
realistic.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm pretty okay with shortening it. And I think I've made some really cool strides there. I probably used to stay in that space for months, maybe years, I
Mm.
don't know. It would be like that cycle would be super long, right? And I would go into that place of harmful behavior or kind of unhealthy expression of something for a period of time, and then finally kind of come out of it. Maybe a season or something would shift.
And resentment
Now
builds,
days.
right? I would imagine that a lot of resentment would have
Yeah.
built
Totally.
in those moments, like being in a, as a couple, as things come up. And women say things, we do things, we can be storms, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like it's never been meant for you to be like, here,
Yeah.
take it, ingest it. It's like, no, you just
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
need to not flinch while I'm doing and going and moving through this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what an interesting thing. So that not flinch piece, um, that I would say is another huge part of my journey in relationship is just being that, like, I mean, we hear all kinds of terms like being the rock or whatever,
Mm.
being the shore, and just sitting in that place, right? Like of yeah, because there
And not
is
making it about you, right? I mean, and
making
it
it
goes
about
for
me,
everybody. I
not
don't
needing
just
to
mean you. I
fix
mean
it.
me, like
Yep.
fix
Yep.
it, take it on, make it mean
Yep.
about me, that it's all like and ingest it, and then all of this stuff
Totally.
comes up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And just being, right? So coming back to that place of presence and not making it about me, because
Mm.
we humans in general, I think, and certainly men, and certainly men who are uncomfortable with their own emotions or the emotions of people around them, it will be like there's those two things, right? This is about me, poor me. Now I'm the victim. It's always about me. Or oh goodness, let me fix it quickly, right? Like, let's
Yeah.
fix this as quickly as we possibly can so that we're out of this horrible place of discomfort because I can't handle this. I can't handle your emotions because they make me feel mine. and and that, that can be a wild place for a lot of men, I think, to spend time. And I'd love to be so grounded in those moments and just be like, no, like, let's breathe. We've got this. Like, let's move it, right? Move this energy however we need to. And I think sending that signal, um, which is really interesting. I've noticed that piece of this dynamic in this relationship where um, that message for me is coming through clearly of like, I'm not scared of your emotions. I'm not scared of your emotionality. I want them. I want to understand. I want to be there in that fire with you or in that storm with you. Um, and I would say this is one of the first times in my life where I've really been able to ground into that even a little bit. And I want to ground in more. I want to be able to stand in that storm more fully.
Yeah. So, and that micro, which I think then is also how we show up in the world and on the macro level,
Yeah.
and looking at the impact of the masculine and taking responsibility of the impact of the masculine. How would you see that now, through your lens, what that means, both from the micro to the macro?
Yeah. I think it comes back to like being fully okay and grounded in those challenging moments and tending, right? So how do we need to tend now? What does this mean in this particular moment? And I think that if as men we can just move that needle a little bit to like getting comfortable with the uncomfortable and I'm going to just tend, right? And tend is going to be dynamic, which I think is really uncomfortable. Like we want the
It's
one thing.
dynamic. It's not a passive thing. And I'm going to
No.
read your words back to you, which is,
Yeah.
model something different for all
Yeah.
the right reasons everywhere I can. Blast
Yeah.
kindness. Hate can't drive out hate. I
Yeah.
want to amplify the simple moments of love and kindness more than ever. I want to be open doors for people because I can. I want to be the safest place for the people in my life and give, I want to give more people little reasons to smile. Um, except wherever I'm at, I've got big fucking blind spots, right? In my own behaviors, my own impact. And these are powerful words, right? It raises the quotient of the masculine, but it also raises the quotient of being human,
Yeah.
takes it to a whole new level. So what do you want people to say or feel as you leave a room after they've experienced you?
Mm. I want them to feel calmer.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, particularly the people closest to me.
Mm.
I think that if that's the impact that I can have, uh, calm to me is safe, and so I think it's I want people to feel safe, but sometimes I don't think we notice that. We notice we feel calm, we feel grounded, we feel relaxed, we feel whatever the thing is, which I think is built around a foundation of safety.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that if people can feel calmer after I leave a room, that's a win for me.
That's beautiful. I love that because it's true. I was thinking about, in most of my life, I have not felt particularly calm, or I'm going to say calm in a safe way
Yeah,
around many rooms with men, and that was partially because of my growing up. And so I really notice when I feel safe in a room with men or a man in the
yeah,
masculine, and my body feels it very viscerally.
yeah,
Yeah, it's really interesting.
absolutely.
So I'm gonna ask you my 10 questions.
Okay.
Brace yourself. No, I'm kidding.
Oh.
Oh no. What is one truth your body has always known that took your mind years to catch up to?
Hmm. Um, that it's easier to just be honest.
Mm,
Yeah, yeah. Like the body always knows, right? But the mind can start racing and doing all kinds of things. But the body knows honesty, whatever the situation might be.
thank you. What's the most intimate moment you've ever had that had nothing to do with sex?
Um, like a specific moment.
Anyway, yeah, yeah, specific moment. Let's
uh,
get specific.
I guess I'm pretty lucky. I've had so many lately, and there's even a specific moment. It was about a week ago, and it was nothing to do with sex. It was in the kitchen, forehead to forehead, and it was just this beautiful moments of eye contact, and our eyes are like 1 inch apart from one another, and in that moment, it was just so much power and so much intimacy and so much love and connection, and something I will never forget and am so deeply grateful for. Yeah,
Thank you. If you could be remembered for one sensation you gave someone, what would it be?
safety.
Thank you. If pleasure were a language, what would your first word be?
Mm, that's an interesting one. Good question. Um, let's.
Hmm, I like it. Let's go, let's do, let's
Yeah,
be.
yeah. I
Hmm.
think that would be the first word. Yeah.
If your erotic life had a title, like a novel or a film, what would it be?
Hmm. Um, explore.
Thank you. What is one thing that you have never said out loud that you wish someone would ask you about?
Um, I don't know if I've never said it out loud, but I think it's around fear. So are you
Mm.
scared?
Are you scared?
Yeah. Yeah. Or something around that, how does fear show up? How does fear limit you?
Mm. Thank you. What part of your erotic self are you still afraid to bring to the light?
Hmm. Um, Taking.
Mm.
So taking for me, for my pleasure. Um, yeah.
Taking or receiving? Not that I'm.
Well, I
Is that
mean,
what you mean?
receiving for the purpose of taking. Like I think, but initiating the take, right?
Got it.
So in that, like, I don't know if people listening have explored the wheel of consent, but there's that, there's like, can you and will you piece, right?
I
And
love the Wheel of Consent. Yeah.
yeah, and
Everybody
there's
go check out the Wheel of Consent. It's amazing. It's great. It's a fun way
absolutely.
to explore, like, I want to touch you this way. Do you
Yeah.
want, right?
Yeah,
Versus
and sorry, it's not
want
not
to be
can you, will
touched.
you?
Yeah.
Sorry, it's may I and will you, right? So may I is for me. And or no, sorry, may I is about giving, right? It's the gift of giving something. May I do this? And then there's the will you is like I want to receive this. And so I think there's something in that like taking energy piece and even just the word can be kind of uncomfortable sometimes when we think about it, right? Like, and so I think getting more comfortable with that space of receiving and allowing the receiving from that place of like I'm taking this, I'm receiving this energy, with of course grounded in all of the
Yeah,
safety
and
and consent
consent and
and
all of that good stuff. And I love that you made that differentiation, because even though I went, oh, taking,
yeah.
right?
Well,
But
yeah, it
it's
sounds awful.
right. It's that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so what dies in you when you pretend, and what comes alive in you when you don't?
Yeah, I think that comes back to that body and honesty piece. What dies in me when I pretend is my fullness,
Mm.
my yeah, yeah. I shrink. I literally shrink. I can feel it collapsing in my posture. Everything changes. And it's amazing how that kind of interoception piece, the piece of like body awareness, has really come through lately. And yeah, I shrink. Yeah, so my fullness.
Fullness. Thank you.
Yeah.
Finish this sentence. When I leave this life, I want my skin to remember.
Oh wow. When I leave this life, I want my skin to remember fullness. Right
Mm.
back to fullness. Yeah.
Thank you. And if the soul has a scent, what does yours smell like today?
Hmm. Cedarwood.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you. You got through all of them. So,
Awesome.
so as we wrap up here today, last pearls of wisdom, anything that you want to share with anyone out there?
Yeah. I think it's around the men and tending piece. Um, I think that if we can just bring ourselves into that space, the world as a whole will get uh, dramatically better. Um, we'll see so much less of the bullshit that we're seeing in the world, and we'll see so much more of all that is good and true and real and amazing and beautiful. And I believe it comes through grounded presence and tending. How do we give energy and how do we take care of what's needing to be taken care of in our lives?
Beautiful.
So tend.
Thank you. And for anybody that wants to work with you, you work with entrepreneurs, you help people rebrand, and with integrity and creating a voice that matters. So I believe it's round 3 dot, is it .ca?
.ca, yes. Yeah,
.ca, great. So if anybody
absolutely.
wants to reach out to Reuben, you can go there. You're also on our website. So thank you for joining us today.
Amazing.
Really,
Thank you so much, Gwenm.
thank you. And everyone out there, have a beautiful weekend. Start of summer, real summer. I love it. All right. See you next week. And thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for listening to Skin and Soul with me, Gwenm. Join me Fridays at 10 a.m. PST on Transformation Talk Radio. Catch the podcast anytime on your favorite platforms. You can follow me on Instagram @Luvology. Ready to take the next step? Book a compatibility call with me at gwenmcarsley.com.